there's definitely something about the fact that me and Tom have worked together writing for so long that, I mean, I suppose we wrote the short of this maybe about 4 or 5 years into our relationship.
Yeah.
And then wrote the feature maybe about 17 years later. But we have a definite kind of shorthand of how to write for one another and how to, I mean, our background is comedy, but I think we always tried to do it on stage that you would believe that they are actual people talking to one another. So I think you're right, there is some quite heightened stuff that's going on in this film. But yeah, that's always the plan, is to try and sell it, or to try and kind of bring it to life in a way that you feel, yeah, these are actual people talking to each other.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think this may be the kind of comedy that we kind of grew up watching as well. You know, when you think about a show like The Office, which obviously started in the UK, things being naturalistic and things feeling truthful, or like Mike Leigh films as well, similar sort of style. A lot of the comedy comes from the truth of the characters. It comes from people really believing the situations and kind of not going for the kind of big laughs or the big performances, going for something that feels really grounded and truthful. And I think that has pretty stayed with us in the way that we try and write and act now. Really, I guess there were sort of, you know, there musicians and sort of musical groups that were sort of I was thinking about and drawing inspiration from, but, you know, we sort of just kind of let it find itself a little bit, didn't we, really? Just when we were kind of, you know, just learning the songs and playing together, just found what we felt like the most authentic version of that was.
So in the original, we sort of wrote it together, and then he was talking about he'd write the songs. Then we were like having these discussions where I'm like, maybe we bring someone in, and he was like, I'm writing the songs, don't worry. And then he played me a song, and you're like, this is not the thing that will make it not be believable. It's the thing that will kind of escalate it to the next level. And I feel that's the same with the feature. Like, everything in the short is heightened to the feature, and everything's kind of, we shoot in a slightly bigger house, we've got a slightly better cast. all of this is going on. Yeah. And so the like, he's raised his game because he's like 15 years older, so he's writing other songs to have an even like better palette of songs going underneath the film. But yeah, the song's kind of a all him, and kind of, yeah, a big part of it.
And I think what Tom's done with the music as well is kind of give us that license to be very authentic, because a lot of that folk music is kind of loved by a few people, but obviously not everyone knows of some of that kind of traditional folk or sort of folk rock. So it gives us that license of going, oh, is this a real band? Do you know what I mean? Like we're suspending belief a little bit. It's not like he wrote U2 songs or something, or, you know, big hits. So it kind of plays into that truth that we wanted to capture, where it kind of, you know, they feel like a real band.
It plays into the super fan as well. I think that it's kind of they're a slightly niche band. They're not like, you know, they're not this huge global phenomenon of a band. They were fairly big, maybe like 10 years ago. So, you know, that it's nice for them that there are people that still remember them, I think.
Also, just to finish on the music, when they're singing to me, there's like a scene in the film where they're singing to me around the table, and I feel like if the music wasn't good enough, then I think that would have been a real stretch for my acting. I'd have been the one who had to sell that this is to the audience. This is good music. Look at this. This is good. Yeah.
It's just so not I'm like a choir singer, you know, I sang in the choir, so I've sung in stuff, but never like, I was very clear with Tom that I didn't want to ever sing on my own.
To be a Broadway musical star, though,
So I wanted to be a Broadway musical star. That was my like ambition. I wanted to be on Broadway when I was little. Like, that was what I wanted to do. And then after I was like, I can't sing well enough and I can't dance, so I can't do Broadway. So then I was like, I'll be an actor. So, but the singing was like a little bit of a part of it, but I was never good enough for that to be my main job. So getting to do it like a little bit is really fun. And we did record the soundtrack at my house.
It was pretty magical, actually, watching. Tim and I were sort of backstage while the three of them were recording with Marcus and Tom and Carey. It was really lovely the way they put it all together. Yeah, it was a magical moment.
So my husband is a huge fan of Tim Key's Late Night Poetry Hour, which was...
And you are?
and Tim and Tom made this radio show that was like a huge kind of cult hit in the UK that lots of our friends love. and Marcus became obsessed with, and then he played that to me a lot, and we were both really big fans. Marcus like went so far as sending Tim a little DM on Instagram, being like, "I just want to say I love you." This is like 6 years ago or something.
Restraining order.
And then he wrote a really nice message back, and then we needed someone to host our fundraiser. So I was like, I know a comedian. So I emailed Tim, who said no.
No way. The thing is, it's not really my vibe to do that
In
stuff.
retrospect, now I know that Tim's
Yeah.
not really the kind of hosting a charity gala kind of comedian.
It'd just be petrifying.
Yeah.
Not the charity element.
No.
The
Loves charity.
hosting in
Doesn't
front
like
of
hosting.
thousands of people would be like stressful.
Yeah.
So it was polite no.
Yeah, so it was a polite no, which
Yeah.
is, but then we had connected, and that was nice. And then I was pregnant with my third child, and I got an email from Tim about this.
This is
And-
after me saying, I'm going to email Carey Mulligan. And these two going, well, okay, well done.
you are.
Well done. Because we drew out a list, and Carey was the only person that we approached, because we sort of worked down the list from our favourite. And Carey just said, well, you just don't know who's crossed your stuff. And so
Or who responds to it, I
Carey
guess,
had, yeah, we were on Carey's radar in some way. Like, Carey knew who we were and said, I'd love to read it. And then after that, yeah, we had a high pressure. I had a high pressure phone conversation with Carey, where I said, "Can I call you?" And Carey said, "Yeah. How about 5 o'clock on this day?" And then that's like you don't want that to be a bad phone call. You don't
No,
wanna-
but
you don't
I
have
was
to-
like, I'm going to have a 12-week-old baby.
Yeah.
Because I was
That
due
was the
to.
bit that worried me. That's
Yeah.
the
phone
bit
call.
that made me think you weren't going to be able to do it.
But then the whole magical thing was that it filmed like a couple of hours from my house in the one place we stayed was the seaside town that I grew up going on holiday to in Tenby. And the other location was like in the village my mum was born in. And so the baby was just so like you could hear her crying. And I remember you being like, it's fine, it sounds like a seagull. Because she was just upstairs. Everywhere we shot, she was just upstairs for the whole thing. And it was just like the nicest thing ever.
It was so lovely.
Yeah.
It was so lovely to have her around.
Yeah. Mascot baby.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'd like to do another movie together, wouldn't we?
definitely.
So we're sort of talking about other ideas and stuff. But I make a TV show in the UK for the BBC, so I'm just finishing the third series of that. And Tim's always on. You've got a new tour show?
Got a new tour show. Yeah, I feel like but the difference is like 3 years ago you're like we're all busy, but the dream would be to make something together. But it does feel like impossible 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So now there's a difference that we've done it. So you kind of feel like it's not impossible now. Someone might like the film and believe in the next project. It's not going from a standing start anymore. It does feel very kind of pinch yourself stuff that we have not only been able to make the movie, but make it. I mean, I love it, the movie, and then, I mean, hopefully it does feel like people who've seen it are being nice about it. I mean, it's the premiere today, so God knows, but in my mind, we're like, we feel very lucky that we're in a position that we've done it and maybe done one that we're really proud of.
Like you, I actually grew up wanting to direct musicals. I was a big Gene Kelly fan growing up, and also a lot of the radio comedy that we talked about, Hancock. And so for me, it was working with these guys. It was a natural sort of fit for me. It always has been, and it's almost something since the short that I've just been searching to get back to. And I've done a lot of other things, and learnt my craft. But yeah, this project is really feels like a great fit for me. But yeah, I mean, I love a lot of small independent movies. I love The Holdovers the other year. Love Promising Young Woman. There's a lot of great movies out there that kind of influence as you go along, visually, musically. But this for me feels like a very personal project.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.